Greetings and salutations, everybody. I just wanted to make this video to say thank you to all of my subscribers and for all of you who have discovered this channel in the past year. It was actually about a year ago, almost a year ago, when I had rediscovered my love for cards and dice. And it all started with my discovery of Dave Gardner's YouTube channel. I had already been a subscriber to Ron Jucket's Retro Sports Network. And for whatever reason, I had not subscribed to Dave's channel. I don't know why. I feel like an idiot now because it's like, why didn't I discover this earlier? So I went to the Digital to Dice channel on Facebook and I listened to the podcast, and immediately I subscribed and I joined the Patreon and did something that I did not think that I was going to do, which is to play cards and dice. I had played cards and dice many years ago, back in the day, as the cliche goes. And then I fell in love with video games. Some of them were on the Nintendo. And as I have said many times, I had all those systems back in the day. I used to work in the video store business from 1990 to 2000. It was nearly a decade that I worked in that industry, and I loved it. I got many stories I could tell, but that's for another day and maybe another YouTube channel. Maybe a podcast I could do in the future. Who knows? Maybe that's a New Year's resolution, but we'll get to that on another date. Let's focus on the present. So I had all those video game systems back in the day. I had the Nintendo. I had the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo 64 and the Sega Genesis and the PS1 and the PS2. And one of the cool things about working for the video store is we would be able to rent those systems out so I could test them out. And well, of course, we had to let our customers get them. And there was, I think, I'm trying to remember, there was a deposit, like $50, $100 deposit, which they would get back. They put on their credit card. And we got them for free, of course. And we had like 2 or 3 of them available. So what would happen is that me and a couple other guys there would rent the systems out every other weekend and test them out. And then if we liked it, hey, this is a system that I want to get. So anyway, long story short, too late. I went ahead and I would get those systems, and I had them all back in the day. And around the early mid 2000s is when I started to lose interest in the video games. And I just wasn't keeping up with them. And they also got very expensive too. I didn't realize how expensive that they were, but they really started to go up in price. And I just didn't have the desire anymore after the PS2. And so I stopped playing it. I will still play with my niece and nephew on their PS3 and the Xbox, but it's just not something that I really am passionate about anymore. And so I don't really do that kind of stuff, like the video game and gaming stuff. I'm not into that. However, I did play sports games on the computer, PC games. I played Out of the Park, Franchise Hockey Manager, Baseball Mogul, Football Mogul, Diamond Mine Baseball, Stratomatic on the computer. And I had the cards and dice game. I got that again back in 2010, briefly. And before that, I had APBA in 2009. But then my dad was diagnosed with cancer in 2009 in October. And it's really a miracle that my dad is still here. And you talk about being thankful. I mean, very, very thankful for that. So I just didn't really I kind of lost my focus. I wasn't really interested in playing the game, and I just kind of had other stuff going on. And then I had a breakup with someone and just lost interest. And I ended up donating the games to Goodwill and changed or refocused on the video games, the PC games. And I discovered Out of the Park in 2012 and played that game for about a decade. And I enjoyed it. And Franchise Hockey Manager, I enjoyed it. But over the past 3 to 4 years, without getting into a lot of detail here, because again, I know I'm sounding repetitious here. This is probably a topic for another day too, and I really want to stay positive here. I just lost interest. There were some executive decisions that I feel that Out of the Park developments have made in the last 3 to 4 years that just honestly turned me off as a customer. It's nothing personal. The people that work there are good, great people. I don't know them personally, but I have interacted with them online and through correspondence and emails, and they're great people. To quote Michael Corleone, it's not personal, it's strictly business. And it just was over time. It wasn't like it happened like overnight. It was just a series of events that have happened in the last 3 to 4 years on the Out of the Park baseball game. Franchise Hockey Manager is still very, very good, and especially their historical replay. I think they do a fantastic job with the historical, and you've got the logos, and you've got the real life coaches, and you've got so much history that is just packed in there. And I really feel like Out of the Park has not done a great job with their historical, which is disappointing because a lot of people like to do historical replays. And if you notice, most people on YouTube do not play the historical Out of the Park. They're usually playing the modern seasons because I think that the historical is something that they have not improved. And it was just one of many reasons why I began to get dissatisfied with Out of the Park. So I was looking for another game. I was looking for something else. And that's when I discovered the Digital to Dice podcast. And they kept talking about cards and dice. And I was inspired. And a little light bulb bing, went off in my head. And I went, hey, cards and dice, that might be something to explore in the new year. And this is around late November last year, early December. And I started contemplating it. Well, first I stayed with the computer and rediscovered Diamond Mine Baseball, which was fun. You know, I enjoyed it. I had not played that game in 10 years before Out of the Park, and I enjoyed it, but I got bored with the replays, and I wanted to do a game where I could be the general manager and I could be the manager and go through a whole franchise mode like Madden. You know, although I don't really play Madden. I've only played it a few times, and it was many years ago. So I'm one of the few people that you'll talk to, and I know people are probably looking at me like I have 3 heads right now. It's a great game. It's just, I was more of a Tecmo Super Bowl guy. You know, not gonna lie, I was more of a Tecmo person than Madden. But I liked Out of the Park because it offered you that option to take a team and you could rebuild through the draft and make trades. Baseball Moguls could do it too, but I feel that Out of the Park did it and does it in a more realistic way overall. But it got to that point last year, about a year ago, where I was wanting to do something different. And earlier this year is when I made the decision. I said, I'm going to go back to cards and dice. I'm going to do this. And I want to do a baseball game. That was the first thing I did. And for about a month, I went back and forth and compared and contrasted Appa and Stratomatic. Pros and cons. Which one is better here? Which is better there? What's going to be more realistic? How many more seasons does this have? And what I came up with is price-wise, there's really not much difference that I could find in terms of the prices. You know, the computer game with Strat has been around longer than the Appa Go. But like their cards, season sets, to me, maybe math was not my best subject in school, but to me, they came around the same price. In the end, though, I went with Appa because it just is a cleaner game. I mean, I'm actually sitting at the table where I play the games, and which is why I wanted to make this video here, is to do it where I play. And it just felt like a cleaner layout. You don't have as many charts to do. Not that I have a despise for or a dislike for charts, but Appa to me is a pretty basic game in the best way. It's something that you can play if you're 8 years old or if you're 88. And you have a lot of seasons to choose from, which is really appealing. And Strat does not offer as many seasons. So they're not cheap, okay? I'm not going to lie there. And many of you know that they're not cheap. But you get what you pay for. And it's one thing that I have learned in my life, is one of many lessons, is that you get what you pay for. And of course, you have to work within your budget too. You don't want to go into debt, and you don't want to put yourself in a financial hole because you've got to have the 1969 season for Appa baseball, or you've got to get, the 1970 NFL season, or whatever, the 1980 NHL season. You know what I'm saying? But Appa won, and I started playing the game. The first thing I did was I did the What If 1981 playoffs, as if they had counted the teams that should have been in there, the Reds, the Cardinals, the A's, and the Brewers, and it turned out that the Reds beat the Brewers in the World Series in 7 games. So Cincinnati was the World Series champions in my replay. That was back in April. And then I started to play the actual season from 1981. And then I watched a video that was on, actually it was a Digital to Dice podcast where they were talking about Appa football and hearing about how great it was. And I was watching Dave Gardner, his initial frustration with the game. And I was watching that saying, well, see, this is why, I probably stopped playing it, as I got frustrated with it. But then, to Dave's credit, he persisted and he ended up really loving the game. And I said, well, I ought to give this another shot. But before I got it, I compared and contrasted Appa and Stratomatic, because I had the Strat football game back in the 80s. The late 80s, I had the game. And when I was hearing about Appa football and how it mimics real life football and the dice I said, okay, all right, uncle, okay, you win. So I got the football game. And the first game I did was a replay of the 1981, because I had the 81 season, the 1981 NFC Championship game between the Cowboys and the 49ers. And the 49ers were leading at halftime, and the Cowboys came back in the fourth quarter, and they actually led 24-20. And it was like 3 minutes left, and the 49ers had the ball like at their 11-yard line, and I'm sitting there going, oh my goodness, holy crap. If Montana comes back and the 49ers win this game, I'm going to fall out of my chair. Which I did. I actually did, because he actually threw like it was like a 75-yard touchdown pass to Freddie Solomon. No, I'm sorry, Earl Cooper, who went down the field and scored the touchdown. I rolled the dice 66, boom, touchdown, and they kicked the extra point and they win the game 27-24, I think it was. Or maybe it was, yeah, I think it was 27-24. They won the game, and I just said, okay, they're right. The dice know. And I have been playing APBA ever since then. Now, one of the questions that I'm sure people ask, and some people have asked me, is, you know, do you not like Strat? Or, you know, did Strat do something to turn you off? No. No, I mean, I would definitely play Strat again. So I'm open to that, whether it's cards and dice or on the computer. I certainly would be welcoming that. It's just that right now, my focus is on APBA. And there have been some hiccups along the way, you know, some health issues in my family. We've had 2 hurricanes that came here in my area, and some other life issues. As John Lennon once said, life is what happens while you're busy making other plans. And so, you know, and then I had to do a couple resets with the APBA baseball to do one thing. Look, I'm a perfectionist, but I am a neurotic perfectionist, as you probably know. So I just want to get it right. You know, when you're doing a replay, you know, I probably am making a mountain out of a molehill, and people are probably saying, you know, Jeff, just have some fun, man, you know, which I probably should, and I should add that to my New Year's resolutions too. But it's just so much fun. And I never realized how much fun I would have playing these games again and rolling the dice and revisiting these players and these teams. And I really owe it all to you. I'm talking to you. People say it's not nice to point, but I'm talking to you in the community who have inspired me to keep on going and have been so supportive and positive and have taught me so much about the games. And I've learned so much in the past year. And I just wanted to say thank you. And that I am thankful for rediscovering this hobby and this passion that I never thought that I would. I shouldn't say never, but I didn't think that. You never say never, you know. But I did not think that I was going to revisit this. And yet somehow, some way, here I am playing cards and dice. And here is the irony here, is I rarely get on my computer anymore. And, you know, I mean, I use it now for statistics and, you know, looking up transactions. You know, for the replays, I look up stuff for other things and music mainly, you know, for organizing my Apple Music / iTunes library. But I rarely play any games, you know, sports games on there anymore, or any games. You know, the one game I play, this is sad to say, but Pac-Man, you know, there is still the Google Doodle of Pac-Man. You know, if I'm bored and, you know, I just want to kill about maybe half an hour, I can play that. What can I say? I'm old school, you know. But I just wanted to come on Thanksgiving Eve and say thank you to everyone. Thank you to Dave and Ron and Dave, for your inspiration. And thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel, and each and every one of you who has commented, and everyone on the social media outlets that have been so positive and supportive and friendly. I got to say that, you know, I've been on a lot of online communities in my life, and a lot of them are toxic. I mean, you know, there are some really disturbed people out there, unfortunately, but I must say that my experience with the cards and dice community has been nothing but positive, overwhelmingly positive and supportive, and just a true circle of friends. And I just want to say thank you all very much. And I hope that everyone has a happy and safe Thanksgiving. And if you're going to be able to play games this weekend, go for it. Have fun. I'm going to be doing that and take advantage. I'm actually going to be taking time off this week, and I go back to work on Monday. But, and I'm thankful to have my family, my friends, my work, my coworkers, my team. I'm grateful to be alive, and just want to say I'm grateful to be here talking with you. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Take care.